across the ocean, but you don't see right in your ball, you know. So it is underneath there, you know. So he mentioned that he was lying, you know. And then the Neten Yalanju, you know, the Arhat, of course he was already Arhat, and he had a lot of miraculous powers, and you know, he played a trick, you know, to them. They like miraculously he like poured a whole bowl of rice, you know, on the floor, the field with the rice, and then when they were walking, they were all sleeping and falling, and there was like a lot of fun going on.
semgitoji mingi ba kanyiba lamdi hada lui ngimi kasa hada lam hada ngimi laminda an laminda kasa ta te jesa shang laminda nanga de da rinze kasa kandi mes no na da mianji da kandi mes rinze kandi ta kanda ani mi lüdin di tolya ani pige karesana 오 니중 깨야데 휴주 톱첨보레스 니중당 아니 니지 첨보 오 천주섬 깨야데 지단 현다된 띠게데 끼그레디 오 끼그리디 미 깨바다 전에 베타다 사다남 덤망고 베트 캐바요 송레 미녀바 오다 가레스나 니중 가지 톱첨보 여바장게 다 간다 니중 예비나 아니 티버스 그 가वे는 남중 주고를 봐 어디 디진이네 팀이 간다 지금 주고래 어다 좋아다 아니 니지 첨보 예는 다 디진 그런 거 데려만 주고를 봐 주고체 맞죠. 디지다 니지 첨벌 내내 아니 베기 참 전주섬 깨고 봐. 니지 첨보다 녀링 끼고 봐. 어디 송인자 대송자 티버 첨벌 남게 발라 간다. 아니 밀류디 소도 기와 이브. 다 간다 될 내내 아니 비게 다 간다. 톱저터도 탈바다 탐지 김에 고만 토발에 밀류디는 신디는 시자와네요 말에. 어디체 터도 전 도발라에 디체 내급 제비나 알아서 내급부터 다들 제비나 내급 먼저 하다 미다 제침을 편지하려 딘데 두바기 티체비나 밀리든디 베트 레라부 체체 리디 디토네 마젠타 그러면 제비나 베트 레라부 휴지비게 두나야 두토야요 요이메레 어디 손자 다 간다 디송도와 계지를 되게 된쳐봐 람리나잖아 계지를 되게 나도 계지 제다 튼데 쇼르와 딘데질 되비네 아니 나도 리딘디 제비나 아니 깨버치면 편지하고 미 리딘도 베트 사연 몽담하고 토비하고 니 큐질 기시제 소도 그랬어 리딘디나 there's no other.
So if we have this prophetum in rebirth, then we can achieve, you know, great things from this. Great purposes, you know, can be accomplished, you know, just by having this prophetum in rebirth. So generating other realizations, you know, as the renunciation, great compassion, and bodhicitta on the human human rebirth, you know, is much more powerful than being, you know, than others, you know. So if you have renunciation or, you know, great compassion as human beings, it is much more powerful than, you know, of course, you know, than having renunciation, you know, within the gods and so forth. So so it's very difficult to achieve, but once if you achieve, then you can you know, it can be very, you know, very powerful. Like if you are able to generate renunciation, then that will become the cause, you know, to achieve liberation, to enter into any of the three vehicles, right? So you must have renunciation to enter into any of the three vehicles, the heater, soul children, and the Mahayana vehicle. You need the renunciation. And then on top of that, if you are able to generate the great compassion, then that becomes the cost, you know, the substantial cost, you know, for generating bodhicitta and entering into the Mahayana vehicle. So the actual the entrance, you know, to the Mahayana vehicle is the bodhicitta, but, you know, the great compassion is like the substantial cost of the of the Mahayana vehicle. And so so if you have this prophetum rebirth, then you can achieve all these great, you know, realizations, you know, up to liberation and enlightenment, you know, so ultimately. And then temporarily also you can achieve many things, you know, by depending temporarily, like the good rebirth and higher rebirth as human or God and so forth, you know. So this prophetic maneuver that we have now, is very valuable. Even a moment of it can bring a great value, can bring a great purpose and accomplish. And so it is very useful and very powerful to have this prophetic maneuvers.
다 지다 네거를 더 전체 봤어. 다 가르스나 나라도 알레 세대 낭시 면대be 체제 차르세는 세대 낭시 킹거 봐. 차체비는 세대 낭시 같은 걸 라빈 봐. 오 다디 차세는 거 깨달 중으로 쳐서 다 알레비. 지금 여러 봐. 어떤 거네 깨달 전부 중으로 쳐서 미지 통로 쳐서 얘는 깨달 중으로 딘디스잖아. 세대 낭시 따다 내도. 다른 낭시 빼줘 여바 전부 중으로 딘디스 멤버 체제 뭐네 다내겠다. 리딘 딜라인서 다 가르스나 뭐네 야는 점점 남다고 하는 비게 차차봐. 야면은 뭐네 타바 탐지 캠에 토바시 뒤 존나서 딘데 차차부터 세낭시 디기요 말에. 딘데 제 차지 세비나 차 세디 찍을라. 차 찍을 가면지 고 말어. 가면 제가 고야 이메. 어다 차 세디 세 월에랑 류월 내베 아니 되게 장등이야 봐. 다 딘데 뒤다 당가 자투고 말어. 라고지 월 뒤 그제 나네. 자투고 말어. 되게 장등이 퀄리티가 미나네 재면다 배 미나가 쩌쩌티. 어다 딘데기 개발아야 뒤르네 다 장는데 큐스타데 가게 거야 말어 딘데 소도 당연히 멘데표야 멘데구로 남바타 베지 멘데도 베지 드스도 용고 이마 sedang시 리기 말해 어다 간다 딘데 표비나 멘데표디 멘데기 되더냐 봐딱 간다 니 퀄리티 베게 간다 어다 밀리든 토바티 큐질 소토고 요래 제가 밀리든 배분 배고 괜히 그 간다 큐질 소토고도 와 디마제다 단다 대소 알리 총알바 코베나게 당가라 지단 데르바 디마임바체 아니 단당아란주 참바 닝지 당념 사로 다 데레 가서 다다 체미시소 고매야 요래 어다 비게 가르서는 쭉 섬기 선배 권에 참바도 잡아도 주지 겁나 거다 공문에 자네 다 까마지 권배이나 난게냐 난가다냐 바다 섬지 타다냐 명문에 가르서는 비게 손은 미게 통해야 돼요 아마도 비 간다 딘데 손은 쏴다 아니 탐지 김배 상계 비게 간다 토비야 다 유사사로 규배 단대 봐 어디에 켜지라 다가난신 따베 토할 제비나 따와 딘중 따바디 다 난관마도 송이 제요 말세다 저번처럼 당한다 디 지단선도 남과는 신민도 내 되나 다 신다도 시다도 규메디 대사고도 어다 간다 따와 딘중 따바디 아니 최 탐지 떠내 줘봐인 봐 라마 줘면 떠내 줘봐인 봐对周围的让往周围动嘛，他这种呢都接不起呢。我上路马达呢嘛接不起呢，真的接不起的这个呀，快把刚刚搞的快把接的被刚刚下弄了吧，下呢，别个他把定个的吧，特别的被曲折，相当的这个说出过吧，加上那个对比呢，全全不的，我的些，我听的他的，我听的些，我别其他他俺让做旅店的来，他不咋不能买了。
And so this prophetic maneuver that we have, is has a great value. Is very meaningful. Get a great significance. Even a moment of it, has a great value. You can achieve having great value means you can achieve great things through that. Even a moment of it, if you spend it in the right way, even a moment of it can achieve great results. Like for example. Of course, that depends if you do it without attachment to this life, like I mentioned earlier about the 8 worldly concerns. So, like for example, if you're making prostration, so if you're in your mind, if you have attachment, to the name and fame and to comfort and so forth of this life, and if you do with that, then of course it doesn't become that. So, for example, if you're making prostration and say, "Oh, I hope somebody's looking at me," and then they will say, "Oh, I'm doing such a good thing," And so if you did with that kind of thought in your mind, and so forth, then it doesn't create any merit. But if you say I'm going to make this prostration in order to achieve liberation or enlightenment, for the benefit of all sentient beings, if you would do it with that, then that becomes very meritorious. And so how long does it take, to do one prostration, right? Maybe a minute or less than a half minute, maybe, about half minute. And so during that time, during that moment, the often a half minute, by making one prostration, you have created a merit equal to the number of atoms that's covered by your body. How much atoms is covered by your body. Even like how many atoms will be covered by one hand, and the atoms covered by your whole body. is how many there are. So equal to that number of time you have created, a karma to be born as a wheel-turning king. And so it's universal monarch, like that. So you have created a cause, to be born as a universal monarch as many times as the number of the atoms that is covered by your body at the time when you make prostration. So how much you cover with your body, so that much more, and and so of course, and then if you do with the great compassion, thinking about all sentient beings and with the bodhicitta altruistic attitude towards all sentient beings, then you create the merit equal to the number of sentient beings. How many sentient beings are there? That many, that much merit you create. And so because there's a numberless sentient beings, you create numberless merits, because you are aiming towards all sentient beings, right? So thinking of all sentient beings, so that is included in that, your merit. So and then of course, if you do with the a view, a correct view of emptiness, then that's even more, more. So the conduct-wise, maybe like the compassion and so forth, is also kind of common, to the other religions. Maybe not as same as the Buddhism. The compassion that is explained in Buddhism is not, and it's not explained in other religions like that. I don't know about other religions, but I I can see that from the way they explain, it's not as vast as the Buddhism explains even about the compassion, right? And definitely there's no explanation about the view, about the correct view, and the view of interdependence. And so the view of interdependence is that because everything is dependent on such and such, so and so, therefore there's no independently existing. There's no independently existing. So if you think about that, so that is the cause, the main cause to cut the root of the cycle existence. So even if you think just for a moment about the emptiness, and that leaves the imprint to cut the root of the cycle existence.
딱 안다 될 람린 나서는 가서 된시 삼나 되면도 팡스 또 돈다 전부 딘디 그 이미 인사 되면 다 스티체스 하는 거는 방법이 아니고 그래서 다 락지로 되고다 돈다 전부 리딘들린 돈다 전부 이거 하고서나 되면 다 스티데샤나 다 방법이 아니지 니가 삼나 기나 되더면스 다디 유도 삼다는 니 가야 깔려가고 유도 알레 니네 니 벌 유망고 사고 봐 딘디 삼다나 기나 되더면스 다가스 데도 키는 야마스 개바 마체 미가 마체 다가스 딘디 데데저 봐 딘디 안 구이케발린 스기도 왔는다 가게 제가 딘디 대기요 마 딘디 대도 거래요 말스 말한줄 류인디 비실 내가 랍진 시우치도 와 랍진 제 내가 때 먹을 다 조생부터 구걸 봐 먹을 제제 아니 또 대샤나 아니 왜 시우지 다 공간에 판고 시우치하고 빼나 가래서나 계급으로 지금 로바를 제제 신다 초보 있는 지기 아니 계란수 껴버려샤 원에 타네다 주고 전부 시우지 내가 지동이지 어떻게 하는지 니마지 이야기 있어 니마지 주준디네 디버르들이야 되게 내가 가지 지는 캡산이 되는 주 고르서나 다행히는 내가 보다 받아시지 무이나 빼줘 전부 쏘거로 받아 소토 소로고 배 추질을 배 공부나만 소토니나 디버르데 내가 먹으지 이유적이 후대산다 배 때문에 단에 접중으로 봐 어디 뒤서 제제 간당 아주 류딘디 토도 잠바 아니 강가 지토부 유도 잠바 뭐네 중나 안게 당고 중나 상계 고마 탐지 캠베 고마 랑거 된 타지 봐 시행이 된 강가 두빙 뒤쪽 거래 어디 맵이네 타르에 고마 딱 간다 코벌레 타네 랑 지구 병원에 타르바 땡게 되어서 더바디 뒤쪽 거다 디체 딘디지 남산 연구면도나 만다를 끼워 치면 편제 녀선 자원은 뭐도 뭐지 땡도 땡게 되어 그냥 또 뒤에 때는야 타베 고방 두야고 돈 삼당 거 봐. 그렇잖아.
And so if you think about the great value, the great significance of the perfect rebirth, then you will not use it for the meaningless things. So if you see how meaningful it is, then you will not use it for the meaningless things. And then if you think about the great difficulties to achieve it, then you will not waste it. How difficult it is to achieve that. When you have achieved it, you will not just leave it there and then not do anything about it, right? Not waste it. You will not just leave it there and not make good use of it. So it requires so much merit, so much difficulties to achieve this perfect. Once you have achieved it, and you can achieve great thing from this instead of using it, instead of making it work and putting it to work. If you just leave it like that, it will be completely waste, right? And so when you think about how difficult it is to achieve the profit and rebirth, then you will think about making good use of it. Making use of it, not just living there without any use. So just for example, like if you, it says for example, in one country, lands, this country, a great device that can produce like millions of dollars in a day, millions of dollars in an hour, and then it says, okay, we're going to rent this, we're going to lend this device to you for 1 day. And what will you do if you can produce, if you can make millions of dollars in an hour? And what will you do? Of course, you will make good use of it, right? You will not just put it there, and go to sleep and not make use of it, right? If you have it only for 1 day, it can make millions of dollars in an hour like that. So how much more, how much you will use of it? Of course, you will make a best use of it. So just like that. So when you know that how difficult it is to achieve and how limited time you have it with you, then you will make every time that it is that you have, you will make good use of it. So thinking about the great significance, the great value of the profit and rebirth, and how difficult it is to achieve, is very important, to persuade you, to make good use of it. And so once having understand that, and then of course you have to use it, use how valuable it is, how meaningful it is. Then you have to use it to achieve the highest state of enlightenment, the full state of enlightenment, or liberation. And at the very least, one should make sure that one will have good rebirth in the future. Use it to have a good rebirth in the future, so that one will be born in upper realm, from upper realm to upper realm all the time, and then through that enter into the path to achieve liberation or enlightenment.
다 되네. 이번에 세대 낭시도 치매 낭시도 다 됐은 거야. 렌데멜로 코베 동네나 양양선은 치매 낭시도. 제대로 렌데멜.
And so then in the next verse, it talks about the giving up the attachment to the next life, right? By thinking over and over again that actions and their effects are unbetraying, and repeatedly contemplating the miseries of cyclic existence, attraction to appearance of future life is reversed.
다디 랜드 루바메바 상단다 가래 빼나 아니 거사당 좀 레그다 죽도 될이야 레녜바 레패체바 레 마체바도 제가 취면서 희어로 봐 어디 레 주도 같은 누구요 자단 당고 레 녜바 수도 잠바 아니 레 개베 레체는 딘데불이야 기 대바요야 레 미게 레체는 딘은 동이야 되게 녜바 되리만도 한 대도 잡아대요 말스 빼는 거라서 빼디셔 그러봐 사제로 찔려야 아니 행동 다 알려 되잖아 찔려야 아니 디스터 군놈이잖아 딘데부터 나고 见고 군놈이 찔려야 그 가상도 다 디스터 봐 별 비게 림부스도 림부 있다나 림부체 찔려야 세면다나 디큰 리가 아마 다 그거 가려서 찔려 나고 见고 군놈 찔려야 귤부 见거래 디체 찔려 카사인기 그러봐 콘숨 괜히 지금 말봐 그 어디 낭신 레르 가르쳐비네 딘 레부도 마셔봐 큰 너무 매버치 용거레스 레게 바체 온도잖아.
So the thing, by thinking over and over again that action and their effects are unbetraying, so that is very important to understand that. So the actions and their effects are unbetraying, means that whatever actions you have created, the result will be similar to that. If it is non-virtuous action, then it's definitely going to be suffering, and if it's a virtuous action, it's definitely going to be happiness. So it will not betray you, so it will not betray. Like say, if you create non-virtuous action, then make it happiness as the result of that. That's not going to happen. So there, here it talks about how the karma is certain, and how karma increases, and how you will not meet with the result that of the karma in the karma you have not created, and the karma that you have created will not go in waste. So not go in vain, or will not be wasted. So these are the four subjects that you have to contemplate on at this point. And so first, when talking about the karma being certain, as I mentioned, so if you have created non-virtuous action, it's certain to have a suffering as a result. If you have created virtuous action, it's certain to have happiness as a result. So that is certain. So for example, also like if you sow the seed of grapes, right, of a grape, you'll have sweet results like the grape, right? And if you sow the seed of a lime or lemon, then you'll have the bitter or sour a result of the lime. And if you sow the seed of a chili, then you will have the hot or spicy result of the chili. And so it is not possible for you to get a chili from the seed of grapes, right? It's not possible for you to have have a chili from the seed of the lime, So whatever you sow, whatever the seed you sow, the result is going to be that.
Oh yeah, that is it. Like never started the petition, teaching that the mango, the mango yota, or that the pitch, so pitch and turned out the never could, petition. Sange Jomde de Jidin Chamber Twitalia, Nyamba Sangdesa, Nyamba Sangde, mainly Nyamba Sangdesa. Oh, Nyamba Sangdes in the one at Tane, gay Nyamba Chilea, the young of Chile shall do some Langa doing it under the Yama under the Casada, or Sing the Hollow touch the Tate into a teaser. This can do much in Yende or so that. Rida to Ganga Joyan, Queen Yamba, the meeting Yango to go. To do the going side, with shooting number 10, or this and shooting number yourself. That this any Tamaji any somewhat to that in the sea on this number, Sangajum did that time, Tarman Jai, this is Sangajum, Jetico to the young the Lindu number. Somewhat he hung or son. How that 10 again number, that dealing number there was Korami, that option was the number should dare you give up to do. Only did two general, Matu test. 투드는 까망가 땡기는 거였어. 그 너네 버질을 연주해 있어 말고 너네 어디 들이 다디 제제 다 간다 아니 냠바 상대사 안디 냠마 타고 데이터 상계송을 다 가란다 봐 냠바 상대사 냠마 아니 최대 정부 시비 샤메 다 샴디나 다 내가 신이지 안 베디고 마대비게 먹고 있었네 최대 정부 된대신 커듀사를 최다 쳐버렸어 베티 최딘 디 샤야들 디지름이다 그 샤니에 되고 베게비나 가다 디 톱 첨부 chen 베 따다 샤도 코베 단 겨바게 네마 쇼카당 되고 알아 아니 그 딩겨 샤체는 고라다 디 라자 칸츠모디 티부 냠보게 냠시 초실 티부 따 어딘데 제 표현이 고 디제 다고 디네 제제 안겨와 망보 가와게 වෙ는 수부 춘주 다 뛰고 농에 십이었어 농에 체 그 칸 도진들을 다 너무 망고 라베다도 되긴 봐. 어떻게 깨냐 받지는 거는 자네가 다 깨네. 항상 해줘요. 어딘데 제제 그때 딱딱 거라. 레드 딱딱 내버 봐. 비기 가서 레 내버사 받인데 딱딱 좀 레 상무사인데 딱딱 거라. 대충을 봐. 어디서 내버. 그 너무 많아. 투 많아.
So then I will tell you another example. There are many examples, just don't have the time to go through all of them, but just give you an example. During the time of the Buddha, there was this monk, called Nyemba Sangden. Nyemba means like a very, good voice, very good voice and very pleasant to hear, listen to, and so when he sings, it attracts, even the animals. And then during that time, of course, there's no cars, so there's carriages, right? So they're pulled by the animals. Even they will stop, and they will not pull it at all. They will stop there, to listen to his chanting or his songs. And so one day there was this a very big businessman, he was traveling by, and then he heard the sound, and he was so pleased, to hear the sound, of that singing. And so he went to the Buddha, and then he told the Buddha that he wants to give him some gift. Like the rich people, they tend to give gift when they're happy with something, right? So just like that, so he told the Buddha that he wants to give the gift to the monk, and then the Buddha said, if you want to give him without looking at him. So once you see him, you will not want to give him even a penny. And then when he said, why is that? And then the monk he had a very nice, very beautiful voice, but he was so ugly. He was extremely ugly, like so like the face was so bad, unproportionate, and all these things. So even when people look at it, they would like just throw up, and so it's so ugly like that. So nobody wants to be around him like that, and then of course they asked the Buddha what is the cause of him being born as such ugly, but yet having a very beautiful voice. And then Buddha told them the story about this in a person's past life. So long time ago, and in one of his lifetime, he was one of the staff involved in building a stupa, and they all planned to build a very huge stupa. And he always went against them and says, that's not possible, you can't build that. It is such a big stupa, there's no way you can build it. But the person who was building, he strived. He must be like a king or somebody, who's very powerful. And he strived, and together with all other people, they finished the building of the stupa. And then he felt very bad, because he was against it. He was always saying bad things, going against them, saying that it's not possible to build and so forth. And he felt so bad after when they finished it. And then, so out of his regret, he offered a bell in the fourth direction of the stupa. And so that's the result of that. So because of saying that, and also in many lifetimes later, he said many bad things. So therefore, he's always born as a very ugly person with a short body, and an unproportioned body, and so forth. So in that lifetime, then that's what Buddha said. The reason for having that is because he said so many bad things about building the stupa, and the reason why he has the result of having good voice is because of offering the bell. So that's one of the examples of how the karma is certain. So if you create a good karma, then it's certain to have a good result. If it's if you create a bad karma, then it's certain to have a bad result.
랭게 봐지. 되네 레 패쳐 봐사디. 아니 레 개바이네다 레 미개바이네 직사니 춘주지 사윤 딘데부들라 첨부 연구여 봐. 망부 연구여 봐. 어딘데 레송어. 레 가능하란소 알레 구슈데 사변을 때 구슈 사변 춘주시 때문이나 대 행동 첨부기 아니 대 가서 행동 망보다 아니 두주 정부대 그래 봐. 어디 능신 다 치디다 나다 두야야 말해.
And then the next one is the karma increases all the time. Whether it's a good karma or bad karma, it increases all the time unless you destroy it, right? So that's like the seed. If you sow a seed of the apple, which is extremely small, and unless it is destroyed, if it grows, it can grow. It can keep on growing, to a big tree with all this, the branches, the leaves, and the fruits and flowers and so forth. Right? So all this comes from that small seed. So just like that, the karma, whether it's a positive or negative, it always keeps on increasing. So you can't of course compare the outside and inside, but the inside karma increases even more than that.
Oh yeah, the page shune the kasabe mangbo yore ko the page nge go lende sadi angeme tada neden judo na pago strip yore ba pago strip 당고 마퉁도 좀 미자 전부 쉬우체 보고 응원에 차네 제고 쉬우지 응원에 타네 오다 싫어 좀 딘디시게 대체 그건 뒤게다가 민 저한한테 란신 보고 싶게도 란신 뭐래 되었다 그 주기전 된 란신 보고 디 짐버 강가세 세기다 셀던바 조바다는 배 강가세 고레세다 세기티체 딱 뭐네 미자 첨부래라고 다 세르나 첨부로 봐. 그 기분 좋아 첨부chen. 뭐네 다네 부도 가요네 그 뒤틀리고요. 제가 부고르면 슬피우스요. 대체네 아니 디가도 개보 단다 세계로 세계게 흉식으로 단제미다. 그 뒤에 원래대로 해서 레몬 dim 포버다. 레몬 dim 포네 최포네 그 대도야마. 그때 란 되게 다다 부고 가는 레대요. 그래서 다 되네 다 보고 미상 건조미 때 보고 미 시부야 거로 춘줄 셰다신 다 상계에서 딱 원에 디세 부인 비고 가서 비고 있는 단다디 다세 시 랑루 저와 디턴다는 세야 냥아도 제제 상계 좀 되는 겹전다 럽도 중다 더버치 있어 다 럽도 중으로 줬어 당아 전에 디턴다 세야 냥아도 있다고 대체는 다 셰다신 디세 럽도 중 춘주간 다미 기술 좀 딘데서 럽도 좋네 아니 디디 잠바 다 디제 깔레게 매월 다존 톱을 다 거라 베트 문이 인중긴 다존 톱 춘주가네 다존 톱디 잠바 되네 권배나야 다 세고 여러 세글 부 가발레는 레오서 미디엄당에 칸지 티션 되게 상게 좀 된데야 당 베트 나한테 과연의 민도 스타디 아니 과연 스타디 이 미망고 싶으면 되게 균네 디치 다 그냥 봐 디치스 아니 봐 그래 렌숨 되지래 렌숨 과연도 치지 봐 딘도버치스 제제 어디지 아니 다 간다 되는 맞중으로 봐 그래서 다 나다 좀 되고 톱 타르바 톱 사. 다 그냥 과연도 렌숨 치는데 이해 들었다. 어디지 어디 디데스 종을다. 네데시보. 다디 규디 칸에 종을했잖아. 내가 아니 미치기. 두두두 좀 상계 위송기选拔的是 冷静不惧啥的，真的是他再想想那导演的看这些地域的，他的去了嘞，安尼觉得差不多这些呗，他可能人不强的，我打等我呢早晨不是상계 위송 그거 내 된대的是，安尼可能他题目都批有什么，没到全部写意思嘛的，纯写不出去，他写的批为那些写批可能他没办法写一个吧，我的这纯也不是当这听这不里啊，听呢给把课子给为呢，我个。这个龙卷用，我听得有的，他都没台北这个 top 的吧，我都讲了。
And then again, also, I want to share one of the examples and stories of this story that's related with the karma increasing all the time. So this is again related with this one of the 16 arhats, it's called his Papa Serbiu. Papa Serbiu was when he was born in this family. And they have a treasure house. They have a treasure house in their in that family. And then there was this miraculously an elephant, a baby elephant was born, and with the at the time when the child was born. And then this baby elephant, everything that comes out of it is a gold. The urine was also like a liquid gold, and a urine and it's liquid gold, and feces are also all like hard golds. So everything he urinates or pops, it's all gold. And so the family became very rich. They have a lot of gold. So of course gold is very valuable, right? All the time. And so he had a lot of gold. And even the king, the people see him then having this the baby elephant follows the child wherever he goes, and then they see him having this the gold gold pipi and gold kaka and all these things. So, and so the king, of that, that town or country at that time, took it away, and he kept it for the what. But when it's with him, he doesn't give any, golds in him at all. But then, no matter how much he try to keep it, just goes, just appears, in front of the child. It's always there with the child all the time. And so they saw that he thought that it would be a danger to his life because it's creating gold and people are getting so attracted to that. So and then he asked the Buddha to become a monk, and then he became a monk and through the practice without having to go through so much difficulties of the practice, he achieved arhatship. He became an arhat. And then when he became an arhat, he's free from cycle accident. He doesn't need gold anymore. And then he asked Buddha that how can he get rid of this, because he's there all the time with him. And then Buddha said, you just tell him that you don't need him, 3 times like that, And then he mentioned this, to the baby elephant. He says, I have achieved an arhatship now, so I don't need you, and I don't need you, I don't need you. 3 times, and then it disappeared. And then later, Buddha explained what was the cause that made him, to have this elephant, which gives him the gold all the time. And then so like many lifetimes before, as was during the time of the Buddha Kashyapa, and there was this elephant that was ridden by Buddha Kashyapa, and then the elephant is no longer there, but then they built out of stone, right? The elephant that's symbolizing the elephant of Buddha Kashyapa. And then he had a very strong faith in the Buddha Kashyapa, so he said, "Oh, this is very valuable, very sacred." And so he offered to paint the elephant, the stone elephant. And of course, he didn't have much money, so he painted it yellow, but he imagined as painting gold. So the elephant with the gold. So with that, because of that merit of painting the elephant with the yellow and imagining it's as gold, and then in every lifetime and after that, he always have this elephant with which gives him a gold all the time like that.
아니 가서 나와지 버려 다 가서 때 망고지 봐 다들 찍찍단 찍을랍시다 찍죠 당에만 양상계 좀 되대 셰슈베 되려야 아니 가서 결론만 고가면 사충을 고가면서 다디 미산 첨부절에 그냥 비게 가래서나 고가면도 끼윈데 배 고도 잡아 것이 고가버치 당가서 말한 경우로 대비 고여지제 고여요 그걸 게 아니 배 구손 제바 시로 쳐보 문에 타네 데네스 깨네 몸에도 춘주간에 상계 좀 된데 랍도 좋니다 춘주간에 랍도 좋다 결론 딱 가서 춘주간 둘쳐 봐 제제 다 공로야 비게 가서 아니 중이 조선도 와는 대바지는 비게 랍도 좋나데 도 랍도 좋사니 레라버지 신나면다 걔는 레라버지 다좀 톱샤 다좀 톱네 디체 and me ganga yam sen kemsi tati kenza geloma ko gam sing di ani ki yundu ne ko de jabichi ke ta rabdu chu koran ngeme ko pa gyu ne me rabjung che gyu do da gyu tinde gyu bet kale kene me ba jon de ko tobni khande ine sti sangel ani gyu ke no khare sti ya kan shin di samba an di song de lu gyu che je ta ngema ta tu zu rum bu shi bre do sangye tan de yu song jome de ya be di de ya 아니 김다 백조부 휴징이 딱 서민님부터 고가고 딱 가다 레크식마도 야야마 요스 말고 그식 제래 고야 디 실로 징루데 디 미디고 직대세선데 다 간다 직실로도 직고는 딱 민이는 고다 레직마도 켜내야마 다 매베 커도 될래 딩이님부디 니머지 군이겠다 지대가 상계 줘요래 미강가 손음 산 대강가 손음 사 너희 손음 사야 가게 되면도 가리는 레드마도 야마 간데가 없다 다 레드 퓨제 손음 사셔요 레드 퓨제 대군이 뒤뒤 장마 뒤 다 상계 디미터지게 퓨가지 참이 뭐들 만져보지 다 말하는 로거 봐 베트다 별로도 쉐르 봐다 베마나 선선 신세다 상계 퓨 상계 군이 손음 사제 대 셰나 시도 담다디 군이 손음 쉽게 다디 예윤 여버도 좀 가시 강바된 가시 다 노트 사기통 티네 dob진 찬 인가 dob진 차 티네 개바 커절레미네 미산 첨부 장장기 거르제 군이 거르제 장장기 다 단다디 교과딩에 다좀 톱서도 아니 보면데 와다 딘데스 베트 가서 뒤줄 정부 딘데스 제제 상계 패배가 고역감지 다좀 되고 톱 딘데로 봐 어디 가래선다 유럽도 가래잖아 이게만 춘추지마도 사요 말 그때 레그 레부데 문에 타네 다 개바 망고째는 타르가 타베되고 타베하고 되는 종으로 봐 어떻게 레 패쳐 봐서 딘데
So again, there are so many other stories. Again, one more story, and I want to share with you, is about Gelongma. It's a fully ordained nun. Kokarmo. Kokarmo is her name, which means white clothed one. And the reason is because usually well, when she was born, she was born with a cloth, with a white cloth on her body. And usually, when people are born, they're born naked, right? But she was born with a white cloth on her body, and and she was very intelligent. She was very beautiful, and she became a nun at a very young age. When she was 12, 13 years old, she became a nun, and then without going through much difficulties, just by doing practice very easily, she became arhat. She became a fourth destroyer. She was able to achieve that state of fourth destroyer and be free from cyclic existence. And so then people asked around, so that was during the time of Buddha, Shakyamuni, and then people asked, how come she achieved state of arhatship so easily, and what was the cause of that? And then Buddha again, told the story of her previous life. So many lifetime ago, during the time of Buddha Kashyapa again, there was this two couples. The husband and wife, and they were very poor. They only had one piece of white cloth as their possession, and so they never went out. So when they go out, only one can go out because they have only one cloth. So they wore the one will wear, and then they will go out. And when they come back, then other one will if he wants to go out. So they will take turn to go out by wearing this clothes. And so during that time, the Buddha Kashyapa was there, and then everybody was making offerings, and accumulating merit. And they also talked about it. So, oh, this Buddha has come into this world, in our place, in our area, and what can we do? We should also go and accumulate merit in his presence. So, what can we do to accumulate merit? We don't have any offerings to make. And then they looked at their clothes and said, oh yeah, we can make offering of this cloth. So they washed it, they cleaned it very well, and then and so they went to offer their clothes. So which means they don't have any clothes to wear, right? So they're really courageous, out of very strong faith and devotion, and they just went naked, and offered their clothes, to the Buddha Kashyapa. So Buddha Kashyapa, of course, knew about that through his clairvoyance, and he accepted in order to increase their merit. And so that was a small merit, of making offerings of that white cloth to them. And then at that very moment, and then when people saw them with such a faith and devotion making offering, they immediately gave them food, clothes, place, and all these things. And so since then, they in every lifetime, they have all this. They're born with a white cloth. So it says the husband already achieved a state of arhatship long time ago, and that was the wife, who was born as Galongma Kokamo. And so during that lifetime, she became arhat. And so it was that merit, they created a very small merit of making just one piece of cloth offering, right, or white cloth offering, and with that, merit keep on increasing all the time, and then have all these possessions, enjoyments, and all this throughout lifetime is because of just creating that small karma. So that's how the karma keeps on increasing all the time.
어떠잖아. 나디 랭에버 산에다 조디 가서래. 락지로 가르자오스나. 아니 비게 랭에바 디고 사야도 좀 가리는 지기요 말. 그 딘데불다 동해 온 거로 봐. 아니 레 상하이는 가리는 제고요. 어디제 정도티 제고한테. 지단천 다딩 내다 디사디 지단천나. 샤한 딘데리 이내야 다 믹생 알아서 가르산 티고 신부 지단티 다 가는 데려야 시작좀 시야요 봐. 단다 시작동 맞춰 뵙게 저래. 시작동 전에 디고 그제 사유네. 비 시작동 전에 마타고 제요 말. 시작동 나고. 내가 제 차를 시작동 나야 제. 아니 진주 미쳐 봐. 어디 제 랭에버 삼티 제 그래. 레페제 봐 대전에 그 락제 가르샤오르스나. 아니 개바 춘주지네. 아따데 개개야마 지능이야 맞으면 춘주이네. 누구 딘데부 첨부 용거로 망부 용거로 어디서 장 두야체. 디버 춘주지네. 그 춘주를 개야 맞으면 춘주지네 비게 방야. 어 딘데체 대나고 다 락제로도 딘데 샤나고 어떠잖아.
So having contemplated on the karma, how it is karma, how karma is certain, and how it increases, at the conclusion, what we should come to the conclusion is that because it is certain, therefore I should not create any negative karma. Because it is certain to have a good result if I create a positive karma, therefore I should create a positive karma. So that is the conclusion. One should have come to that conclusion to create only positive karma and not create any negative karmas. And then at the conclusion of having contemplated on the karma that increases is that one should think that because it increases, so even if it's very small, because it's going to increase all the time, so therefore even if it's a very small positive karma, I should create it because it will increase, and then later I can achieve a great result from that. So therefore, even if it's a very small positive karma, I should always create it. And and then at the conclusion of not creating a negative karma, even if it's small, because if it increases all the time. So even if it's very small, if I say, oh, it doesn't matter if I create this, it doesn't matter. I can't say that because it will increase, and then it can bring a very bad, bad result. And so therefore, I should not create any, even a very smallest of negative karma. So that's the conclusion we should come. Of course, when we talk about this is before having done anything about the karmas, right, that we have created. So if we purify them, of course, that can be purified. So negative karma, it can be purified if we apply the antidotes and so forth. Then we can purify that. But in general, if karma is not purified, then it keeps on increasing all the time like that. So at the conclusion, we should come to not create any negative karma, even if it's so small, and keep on creating positive karmas, no matter how small it is. So we're going to stop here. We'll do a short mandala offering. sa shi be ye jung shi me do da re ra lin shi ni de gen ba de sang ge xin do men de bu do go nam da shen la che bo ra shu
ye dang gu ru ra na men de la gam ne ya da ya mi oh ya